Do you have your shirt on?
Last I checked, I did, yes. Why?
Do you have your shirt on?
OMGREDS Radio, EP06, for investors with OMGREDS.
Hello, Reds fans. This is Mike from OMGREDS.com. You're listening to OMGREDS Radio, Episode 6, with Dan from OMGREDS.com. How's it going, Dan?
Good, Mike. How are you? Thanks for having us on.
Doing good. First off, we want to ask for a pitch of your site. As far as I could trace back, you started it on January 9th, 2008. As you stray from the box score, you seem to offer a fan's point of view of the Reds.
Yeah, to kind of sum us up in a sentence or two would be to, I guess, provide a kind of irreverent point of view on the Reds and being a fan and kind of stepping away from, breaking down the box score every night and just kind of talk about, what we do as Reds fans, whether it's, going to the game, having a hot dog helmet Sunday or Reds Fest or just the kind of accoutrement that goes with, being a fan and just kind of providing, a different, kind of an extra viewpoint to the Reds blog sphere, I guess.
The Major League Baseball non-waiver trade deadline is approaching real soon on the 31st of July. Who do you think the Reds need to get, if anybody, to compete the rest of the season? And is there anybody you'd unload or trade?
Well, that's kind of a tough one. I think in light of the Dan Herron trade, was it Diamondbacks and the Angels? I think actually I kind of always liked Dan Herron, so that kind of would have been a nice pickup. And I think even like Red Light Nation even had posted something about Jocketty may have been able to put a package that was maybe even better than that to get Herron. But with the depth of starting pitching that we have at the big league level and in the minor leagues, it's kind of a tough call. Like we don't have any glaring weaknesses, but we don't have anything like overly strong positives that you can't say that we can't improve in any one area. So I think that's a little tough. I don't know. There's a lot of me that just kind of likes the team where it is, and I kind of see where Jocketty's point of view is on that. But at the same time, if we can get a solid reliever to complement Arthur Rhodes, I'd probably be willing to give up, depending on who it is. Yonder Alonso would probably be in that mix a little bit, but you got to consider it's going to be a rental for the half a season. Tough call. Totally tough call.
And like you said, Jocketty must be happy with his players as they released Gary Matthews Jr. a few days ago.
Yeah, I think we all breathed a big sigh of relief when that happened the other day.
Okay, along with the non-waiver trade deadline on July 31st, Homer Bailey is going to have a bobblehead night. You've got a somewhat obsession with bobbleheads on your site. Do you have a favorite bobblehead that you've received in the past, and maybe what kind of bobblehead would you like to see in the future?
I've been to most of the bobblehead games that the Reds had, even going back to 2001. So there wasn't many that I missed, and I don't have like a Johnny Bench one. Never got that one, but there was one that was when they did Marty and Joe bobblehead night. They had like a little duel, and I think I missed that because I was out of town. My wife and I were on vacation, so I never got around to getting that. One of my coworkers at the time actually had an extra one and actually gave it to me as a kind of a wedding present. So that was a kind of a nice one, and that's kind of always a special one, just because it kind of came along with the thought of the wedding present. So as far as who we'd like to see, or I posted something on Twitter today. How did the Homer Bailey bobblehead, how did that happen, with a little bit of snark attached to that. I don't know if Homer would have been my first choice, but I think as the season's gone on, I kind of agree with a lot of people. Like an Arthur Rhodes one would be pretty sweet. As far as it was just kind of hard to tell at the beginning of the season. You're voting in April. I think a lot of people just didn't know who Arthur was, didn't have a handle on how if Orlando Cabrera was going to be any good, and whoever else was in the list. And so it's probably kind of a tough decision. And Homer Bailey kind of probably netted out just being the one that I think everybody kind of identifies with the most.
We all know that we're currently celebrating the 20th anniversary of the 1990 World Championship Reds. Do you have a favorite Red from that team, and do you have a favorite moment from that year?
I think favorite's kind of tough. When I was a kid, I think I was in love with Chris Sabo all the way. I think even at one point in my little league career, I had donned some racquetball specs and wore them in a game just to kind of
Nice.
act like Chris at the time, and totally was completely embarrassing now that I look at it. But and I've always loved Chris, and I'm really glad he's in the Hall of Fame. But I think over time, I think Barry Larkin, just like a lot of people in town, has really kind of become the front runner. Is my favorite Red from that era. As far as like favorite moment, man, I don't think I was able to go to too many games when I was a kid at that time. So like even just being around it wasn't necessarily there. But I do specifically remember watching the games on TV, when they played the Pirates in NLDS and then onto the World Series. And I think that the point that stands out the most to me out of that whole World Series was when Glenn Bragg broke the bat over his back. I was just totally stunned when I was a kid that could even happen. So, it's kind of a goofy moment, and it wasn't really indicative of, the team and winning the championship or anything like that, but it was just such a moment of like, holy cow, that happened. I think it just kind of sticks out a little bit ahead of everything else.
This year we've got an extreme overflow of starting pitchers. That's obviously a good thing. What do you see from Aroldis Chapman, Travis Wood, Maloney, Bailey on the DL? Edinson Volquez is coming back. Mike Leake's innings are being monitored. We've acquired Russ Springer, Jason Isringhausen. Just give me a general outlook on the Reds pitching situation right now.
Wow. It's like we have a swimming pool full of pitchers. Like you can just dive in and you're going to come up with something. So it's tough. I think obviously it's a good problem to use that cliche, but obviously you got to get to the point where you're going to make decisions. So more and more, like as I'm reading what John Fay's writing, and like I can really kind of believe in Aroldis Chapman coming up as a reliever. It just seems like he's not ready to start right now. And from I think somebody asked him the other night on Twitter like how he's doing in the relief role. And he's getting a little more and more solid, even though I don't think we hear about it, every day. So it'll be neat to see him. I think he'll be up. And obviously, given our relief pitching situation, I think they'll at least give him a try before it becomes, down to the itty-bitty end of the stretch run. I think they'll give him a shot. As far as the rest of the guys, hopefully Volquez, is just on the path that he was taking during his rehab start, and he just keeps on trucking. It's a great problem to have. Hopefully Homer will, hopefully his rehab assignment will go pretty well. And a great problem to have. Can't put it any other way.
What about the Isringhausen and Russ Springer signings? What do you see?
I gotta admit, I don't know much about those guys. I know Isringhausen pitched for the Cards and was pretty good. So, and I think, did he have elbow surgery? Is that right?
He had Tommy John, and it was actually in the same point in his career that Arthur Rhodes had his surgery. So.
Okay, right. So, might as well take a flyer on those guys.
Could be a good thing.
Yeah. So, in Russ Springer, I was like, I had to kind of dig deep to remember that name, to be honest with you. So,
yeah.
Hey, good chance to learn about those guys, right?
It's an inexpensive option, I guess.
True. Yep.
Staying on the topic of pitching, I got to ask you, what is your obsession with Sam LeCure?
For the rest of this interview, visit OMGREDS.com.